Hey, I'm here today to talk about simple hacks to improve your metabolism. A lot of us have found as we've aged, our metabolism isn't working like it used to. Like when I was in my teens and my 20s and my 30s, I could eat whatever I wanted and I pretty much didn't gain weight. But it really changed in menopause for me. And really, it's changing for men and women as we age in a lot of ways. So I teach a very comprehensive eating approach that helps people transform their metabolism, lose excess weight, lots and lots of health benefits in all these different areas. But I also can share with you some simple ways to start to make a dent in turning things the right direction. I don't know if you know, it's estimated 88% of us are metabolically ill now in these times. This is happening because of the way we're eating more than anything. So changing our diet can reverse this situation for many of us. So I'm going to suggest that we focus on transforming our metabolic health. Instead of just, how can I lose this weight? I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get surgery, etc. Maybe the right thing for you, but for most of us, the healthiest, most natural way to get to naturally slender again and to minimize the risk of prevalent chronic diseases is to focus on strengthening our metabolism. So at the end of these 6 hacks, I'll talk about how you can know if you're metabolically ill. But for now, let's focus on preventing spikes in our blood sugar. Weight loss that lasts is so natural and stress-free with the right approach. I can show you how. I study this stuff all the time. I discovered a couple of people on YouTube who I felt were offering a lot of scientifically proven ideas for how we can improve our metabolism. And they were really supporting what I have been finding and studying the research for all these years. So I'm going to share some scientifically supported hacks for preventing glucose spikes. And I'm going to share a couple of the proven hacks that they share. So the first one I really loved, because this is one of my top messages too, and it is stop dieting, stop counting calories. Calorie counts are a distraction from more important issues like the nutritional value of the food. For me, I was saving room, right? I was saving room for dessert. I was saving room for wine, as though that's how my body works. Like I just have to only care about the calories and I can eat non-nutritious things or nutritious things, and it's all the same because all I care about is calories. It's a really terrible focus for us, and it's led a lot of us into terrible results. So if you're saving room for non-nutritious food-like substances like the dessert or the wine that we consider treats, we're actually spiking our blood sugar levels too high. Every time we do that, it's contributing to disease and decline in our system as well as overweight or obesity. Now, I'm not going to say there's no one who will benefit from counting their calories. Some people might, but for most of us, it's just the wrong area of focus. It's not going to help us lose weight long term, and it's not going to help us strengthen our health, which I wanted both of those. I wanted to lose weight and never diet again. I only wanted to do it in a way that would make me healthier. So if that's what you care about, it's better to focus on what the food is doing in our body, right? And I know other people aren't going to study this to the degree I do, but that's why we need some simple principles that make sense, right? Also, counting calories is shown to produce cortisol spikes in our anxiety hormones. So the first hack is stop counting calories. It's not helping you and it may be harming you. The second hack is to start your meal with veggies. I'm talking about real, whole, cooked, or raw vegetables. One number I've seen is to aim for at least 30% of your meal to be veggies and to eat that at the beginning. So you're putting a lot of fiber matrix into your gut, and that's going to slow how fast the sugar, the glucose, gets into your bloodstream. Fast is bad, slow is good. In Slender for Good, 2 of our meals are more like half veggies, and it's absolutely life-changing. Like we just start to lose weight without feeling hungry, etc. But it can take a while to figure out how to eat that many veggies and really like it. But how many, as a hack, how many of your meals could you start now with veggies? Pretty easily. So I can just start doing that today. I'll just have my salad first at lunch or whatever, right? So that's the second hack. Start your meal with veggies and aim for at least 30% of your plate to be veggies. Here's another hack that I've been using. I periodically use it and then I come across it again and go, why aren't I doing that? So it is vinegar. It is to have like a tablespoon of vinegar diluted in a glass of water before your meal. Some people say it doesn't matter if it's before your meal. I haven't looked at the research that closely to know, but that's what I'm doing. I am having a glass of water with a tablespoon of vinegar. Now, you don't want to have the vinegar straight, undiluted, because it's very acidic and hard on your teeth. But the reason it's going to help when you drink it before a meal is it will create a low pH environment in your intestinal system. And that's going to slow the movement of the glucose molecules in the food as they enter the bloodstream. So we just don't want too many glucose molecules entering the bloodstream too fast. That's going to cause spikes and that's going to cause disease, etc. The fourth hack is after you eat, move. We've always heard this, like go for a walk after you eat. Great idea. What I realized is it's using the muscles a little bit. So I can do any kind of movement. I'm just using it as a hack. I'm setting 10 to 15 minutes after every meal to just move. Dance or do something with my arms, do something with my legs, whatever. After you eat, move is another hack that will really help your metabolism. It will really help slow the glucose molecules from getting into your bloodstream, and that will protect your health. All right, if you find this kind of information helpful to your life, please comment, please share, please like. Now, the next two relate to this issue of if you are going to eat starchy foods, if you want to get predictable and reliable weight loss that sticks and reverse prediabetes like I did and eliminate chronic pain and inflammation and really have this huge transformation, you might just want to abstain from desserts, from starchy foods like potatoes and rice, the things that a lot of cultures have as a staple, right? You might just want to take them off the table and just not eat them, especially if they cause cravings for you or if you have diabetes or prediabetes, or once you start having these things, you can't stop. You might just want to take them off the table. And it can make all the cravings stop. It can make the excess hunger stop, right? So for me, it transformed so many things in my life. I felt like I was getting younger instead of getting older fast. For me, it was worth just deciding they're more trouble than they're worth. They don't have enough nutritional value for how much trouble they're causing in my metabolism. But if you feel like, no, I really want to keep the tortillas or the bread or the rice as a regular element in my meal, I have two other hacks for you. So you got a high glycemic index food and you really want to keep it. It's really important to you and you want to just try hacks for now. There are two things you can do to hack this. So one is called retrograding the food. When you cook a starchy food like rice or potatoes and then you eat it, almost all the starch converts to glucose, to sugar molecules that are rapidly absorbed into the blood and cause these glucose spikes, these sugar spikes in your blood, which are dangerous to us. They're causing us to develop disease. They're causing us to age. Glycation is happening inside, and so they're causing us to get older quicker. You can slow that down when you cook the food and then let it cool before you eat it. So maybe you cook it today, you put it in the refrigerator, and tomorrow you eat it. It has changed a bunch of those glucose molecules so that they become resistant, they become fiber. And that's super beneficial to that whole environment in our gut and to our metabolism. So we don't get the blood sugar spikes. So if you're going to eat them, retrograde them first. That's one hack. For me, that's pretty easy. Like I have oatmeal lots of mornings, and I never eat it when it's just been cooked. I always eat it starting the next day. So retrograde the carbs if you really want to eat them. It's a good hack, I think. It's something I just learned. The other hack, if you're going to eat these foods, is never eat them alone, right? So I remember thinking, I'm just going to have a whole meal of corn on the cob. Like, I just love corn on the cob. I'm going to put butter and salt on it, but that's all I'm going to eat because I really want to eat a lot of it because I love it, right? So don't do that. Don't eat something starchy with nothing else. So what should you eat it with? Eat it with a serving of protein that will really help slow down the glucose molecules. It'll really help minimize the risk of having too high a spike. Or you could have it with veggies, with a salad or cooked veggies. Or you could have it with both, maybe even better. So if you're going to have potatoes or you're going to have rice, have it with protein and or a veggie. The way the people that I'm following talk about this is put clothes on it. Never eat the starchy things alone. Never eat the processed things alone. So those are 6 hacks to minimize blood sugar spikes. Which one of those would be easy for you to try? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Now, I want to address this question that I brought up earlier. How do you know if you're having blood sugar spikes that are going to be a problem for your health, for your metabolism, for your weight? How do you know if that's happening? We need glucose in our system. Our body needs glucose. It's the main source of energy for our cells and our tissues and our organs, especially the brain. Our brain needs quite a lot of glucose. The problem is when the glucose that comes in from our food, from carbohydrates and from proteins, comes too fast for our body to cope, and it starts driving up our blood sugar. So even before we can see that our blood sugar levels, our fasting blood sugar has gotten to a level where the doctor says we've passed a threshold, now we're pre-diabetic, even before that, if we're getting these blood sugar spikes, every one of them is causing problems. Our body likes to maintain balance, homeostasis, because excesses and inadequacies cause disease and dysfunction. So our bodies are really good at maintaining homeostasis in lots of things, in our temperature, in our hormones, etc. When we're eating in a way that's constantly provoking our body to have to try to get it back into homeostasis because it's excess, right? Or it's inadequacy. The way we're eating is causing a lot of excess and a lot of inadequacy both. Eating the Western diet involves quick calories. This is one thing we've gotten very good at. We can get a lot of calories in quickly. It's very palatable. It's already pre-digested. If you think about processed foods, it's broken down so much that it's very easy to eat, and the glucose is very quickly accessed into the bloodstream. So that spikes our blood sugar. And this is happening for a lot of us every day, several times a day, and that is aging us very quickly. So it spikes our blood sugar, it often spikes our insulin, and our body starts to become resistant. It starts to say, this is too much, we need to tamp this down, and it's got mechanisms for doing that. So how do we know if we're in this situation? Over time, as we age, our body has less ability to cope with big influxes of glucose. So how do we know if we're having glucose spikes, if we're having metabolic illness? 88% of us are. So most of us can assume I probably am. It's not something the doctor's going to be able to measure easily. They will be able to notice if when we pass a threshold with our fasting blood sugar levels, like our levels all the time. But they don't have a way necessarily of measuring how much we're spiking our blood sugar on a daily basis or even every meal basis. We could do that if we use a glucose monitor. We could watch and see. A lot of people are doing that these days, and that could be helpful information to you. One way that I really notice that I'm not eating right, that I'm really changing my metabolism, I'm having glucose spikes, is if I start feeling a lot of hunger. I used to feel hungry between meals, right? I really felt like I had to eat every 2 or 3 hours, at least something. Or I would feel hungry after I finished a meal. Like, what is that? I just ate a whole meal. Why am I still hungry? Or feeling like you need snacks. So we are experiencing a different kind of hunger than people did 100 years ago because of what's happening to the glucose spikes in our systems. So if you're having that kind of hunger, it means something has changed in how your hormones are functioning. It can be an indication of trouble with your glucose levels, with your metabolism. Another indication is if you're having cravings for sugars and starches and cocktails, etc. This can indicate that your glucose levels aren't well managed. If you're experiencing overweight or obesity, it's likely that you're having trouble with your glucose levels. Of course, get your fasting blood sugar measured regularly, and if it's trending up, like don't wait until it gets to prediabetes level or diabetes level. Don't consider it fine as it's approaching that number. It's not fine. It may not have reached the threshold where doctors say, now we've got to give you medication. But if it's trending up, that's not a good sign. We might want to keep it in a much lower level. We might want to manage our blood sugar much lower. By the way, if you get a glucose monitor, probably they come with these instructions, but the bit of study that I've seen on this is you don't want to ever see glucose spikes over 180 milligrams per deciliter after you eat. Spikes of 180 are harming you every time. So it's dangerous in that spikes like that are contributing to developing that whole syndrome or package of issues. So my big message today, rather than focus on weight loss per se, we may be wise to focus on getting our metabolic health on track, particularly really managing our eating so we're not spiking our blood sugar too high. So our diet's the number one driver of our metabolic health or illness. Other things are important: our sleep, our stress, smoking, exercise can also have an effect, but the biggest driver is our diet. We know that eating in a way that causes blood sugar spikes is a major cause of metabolic diseases, this whole package of diseases so many of us live with now. And we understand a lot about the mechanisms that connect those blood sugar spikes to illness and aging. So I hope you can find one or more of these hacks that can be helpful to you. I'd love to hear which ones you're going to try, what your experience with it is like. And if you have any indications that your metabolism is seriously in trouble, you may want to approach this in a more holistic way. We see a transformation in this whole package of issues. I always talk about this list of 100 people who I asked, how did your health change when you changed your eating the way that I teach, slender weight eating? And it's just this huge package of changes that really we find in the research should be able to change for a lot of us when we change our eating. We are embracing a truly healthy eating approach that's proven to produce these results. I call it slender weight eating. It comes with very specific eating guidelines that transform this whole system for many people, including women over 50. I didn't want to find anything that wasn't going to work for women over 50. So if you know, I would really like the whole answer, the whole formula, reach out to me. I can teach you how this works. If you know you could use some support really making these habits easy, turn to me. That's one thing I'm especially expert at. Most of us can transform our metabolism and quit dieting for good. If you found this helpful, please like, please comment, please share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.